There's no doubt that seed retention can change your life. The quicker you make this decision, the better. But many people can't quit filthy videos and continue to lead the same old life. Ever wondered why is it almost impossible to quit watching filthy videos? Everything around has been purposely engineered to make it easier to give into your urges. It's quite common. Many people out there consider it healthy without ever thinking about the consequences. In fact, if you decide to tell your friends about seed retention, many will laugh at your face. Why? Because they are so far in the rabbit hole that seed retention is now mere pseudoscience and a myth. Today's video will focus on exactly that, the scientific evidence behind seed retention and why you need to quit filthy videos as soon as possible. For that, let's refresh your memory with a word that is very commonly thrown around in the seed retention community: dopamine. Without getting too technical, all you need to understand is that dopamine is a neurotransmitter responsible for your urges. If you were on the seed retention life, then the word urges might scare you. In fact, urges are necessary and a healthy part of your life. If your dopamine didn't force urges on you, you would most likely die of hunger or lack of oxygen because you couldn't be bothered eating food or breathing. This is why understanding dopamine is crucial if you want to break any bad habit. It motivates you to seek opportunities and pursue potential rewards. If it's not there, you wouldn't be so consistent in doing something you're good at or pursuing your long-term objectives. Dopamine is a reward pattern that you can change. That's correct. You can change it completely. The more you bombard it with pleasure, the more urges it will throw at you. There's a very good quote for this that you should know by heart and memorize. It goes like this: there's a human organ that is never satisfied if you feed it. It is only satisfied if you keep it hungry. So your willingness to clear a level in the video game or the power that drags you out of your bed early in the morning to attend your school workshop or workout sessions is dictated by your dopamine reward system. I just mentioned that you can change this reward system altogether. How? Well, let's dive into the rat dopamine experiment, which most of you might be aware of. Scientists conducted an experiment on rats, observing how they respond when their dopamine receptors are turned off. To no surprise, when this reward system was turned off, the rats became lazy and starved to death, even though they had food in front of them. But they didn't touch it. What went wrong there? If you look at it closely, you'll find that the rats had no motivation to eat or do anything. This is exactly how drugs like heroin and cocaine work. They stimulate the dopamine receptors in the brain at extremely high levels, making them inactive for the time being. The human body always responds to such impacts, aiming to maintain homeostasis. However, it may not be able to recover upon high levels of drug intake. In that case, your brain responds by decreasing the number of receptors. It's just like taking steroids. When you take steroids, you are artificially bombarding your body with testosterone. So, in order to bring your body back into the correct balance of testosterone, your body shuts off its own testosterone production because it's already getting enough intake from the steroid to use. This is why many steroid users find their balls start to shrink. So the more you bombard your mind with insanely high dopamine, it will always try to bring you to normal levels by shutting down its own dopamine receptors. Now that some of your dopamine receptors have been shut off. This is what you will begin to experience according to scientific research. These health issues include fatigue, lack of motivation, insomnia, mood swings, memory loss, social anxiety, low libido, sugar cravings, stress, inability to connect with others, and inability to focus. Not only that, but low dopamine can cause depression, which is very little understood in the masculine community, but is in fact a very serious topic. Just think about some of these health issues I shared. By practicing seed retention, you do the opposite of them, meaning you will find it easier to connect with others, to focus, to fight off sugar cravings, and be socially confident. So the next time you doubt your purpose and commitment to seed retention, then remember these goals you are fighting for. Whenever you partake in any sexual activity, your dopamine receptors are at their highest level. That's correct. So far, science has not discovered any other substance that can skyrocket your dopamine besides sex. Not other drug come close in comparison. Now remember, sex is vital for the survival of humans. And naturally your body responds when you're having it. It always rewards you with the best you can achieve. In simple words, during sexual activities, your dopamine levels are twice as active as they are in normal situations. The only drug that can meet those levels is morphine, although cocaine causes elevation up to 300%, but only for a couple of minutes. Unlike those drugs, filthy videos has the tendency to maintain dopamine levels above 100 for as long as you like, and you're able to maintain it for hours because of something called the Coolidge effect. The Coolidge effect is a whole new discussion in itself. It's a biological phenomenon that was proven through a rat experiment. Scientists put a male mouse and a female mouse in a cage to monitor their sexual performance. The couple had a lot of sex, but as the time progressed, the male mouse seemed less interested. The scientists observed that the male mouse couldn't release like he would. The survival of humans. And naturally your body responds when you're having it. It always rewards you with the best you can achieve. In simple words, during sexual activities, your dopamine levels are twice as active as they are in normal situations. The only drug that can meet those levels is morphine, although cocaine causes elevation up to 300%, but only for a couple of minutes. Unlike those drugs, filthy videos has the tendency to maintain dopamine levels above 100 for as long as you like, and you're able to maintain it for hours because of something called the Coolidge effect. The Coolidge effect is a whole new discussion in itself. It's a biological phenomenon that was proven through a rat experiment. Scientists put a male mouse and a female mouse in a cage to monitor their sexual performance. The couple had a lot of sex, but as the time progressed, the male mouse seemed less interested. The scientists observed that the male mouse couldn't release like he would earlier. Later, the scientists found that this was because of the male rat's low dopamine level, which indicated that it had no interest in having sex with this particular female. The only way to pump those dopamine levels back up was by introducing a new female to the male rat. As soon as the new female mouse entered the cage, his dopamine levels spiked all the way back up. He was ready and looked as eager for sex as he was before. It led scientists to a conclusion that if they'd introduced more females, the male would exhibit the same response. He would have sex with every new female until he had no energy left. Humans also react in the same manner, thanks to the Coolidge effect. When you watch porn, your dopamine levels tend to fluctuate in the same manner by switching from one video to another. You're actually keeping those levels high. Every time you do this, you are short-circuiting your mind and frying up your receptors, because the human mind was never made to handle this high dopamine for long periods of time. In short, every new video works as a small dosage of cocaine. Since cocaine is expensive and has a risk of overdosage, the dopamine boost you get will last for a few minutes or so. But porn can stretch that duration to hours, which is worse than taking hardcore drugs. Listen to that again. It's worse than taking hardcore drugs. You might be proud that you have never taken heroin or __in. But if you are still watching filthy videos, then you are no better. And so what happens? Like we discussed before, your brain shuts down the number of available dopamine receptors. Imagine what could happen to you if you keep watching filthy videos every day. In a few years, you may end up causing serious damage to your dopamine reward circuits, where most of your receptors are now turned off. If you have social anxiety, are fighting depression, and don't have the motivation to achieve your goals or do something big, then think about everything you have heard so far. Sit down and reflect hard. It's time, brothers, that you take up what you were born for. It's time to be unhooked from porn and social programming, which is the worst drug of our generation. Begin slow and take it one day at a time. Over time, you will find your reward circuit begin to heal. High motivation, improvement in libido, reduced anxiety, increasing social skills, greater self-confidence, and above all, the favor of God will return back to your life. By the way, don't forget to show some love. Tap the subscribe button and hit like for the algorithm to see the next best way to level up as a man. Watch